Imagine standing in the heart of Paris on a cool spring evening. The lights of the city begin to shimmer. The Seine quietly reflects golden ripples, and suddenly, right before your eyes, the world's most iconic tower explodes into a dazzling show of thousands of sparkling bulbs. People gasp. Phones rise in the air to capture the moment, and even locals who've walked past it 100 times pause for a second. The Eiffel Tower isn't just a building, it's a symbol of Paris, of France, and of human creativity itself. But what if I told you that behind its glamorous image, this iron giant hides secrets, controversies, and jaw-dropping stories most people have never heard? Today, we're diving deep into the top 10 facts about the Eiffel Tower. Stories that will change the way you look at this legendary monument forever. Let's begin. 10. The Eiffel Tower was hated when it was first built. It's almost impossible to believe now, but when Gustave Eiffel's tower was first constructed for the 1889 World's Fair, Parisians absolutely despised it. Today, millions of tourists travel from all corners of the globe just to see it. But back then, locals thought it was an eyesore, a piece of industrial junk planted in the middle of their elegant city. Picture this. In the late 19th century, Paris was known as the world capital of beauty and culture. The city was home to grand boulevards, Art Nouveau architecture, and romantic stone bridges. Suddenly, right in the heart of this classical setting, a colossal iron skeleton started rising into the sky. To many artists and intellectuals, it felt like an insult. In fact, a group of France's most respected cultural figures signed a petition to protest against the tower. They called it a gigantic black smokestack and a monstrous construction that would ruin the skyline. Imagine if today someone proposed building a skyscraper shaped like a giant cell phone in the middle of New York's Central Park. People would freak out, and that's exactly what happened in Paris. Newspapers at the time published angry letters, and famous writers like Guy de Maupassant openly mocked it. Maupassant even claimed he ate lunch inside the Tower Isis restaurant every day just because it was the only place in Paris where he didn't have to see the thing. But Gustave Eiffel stood firm. He believed his creation would not only showcase France's engineering genius but also inspire the future, and history proved him right. Ironically, the very people who once cursed the tower ended up embracing it as the ultimate symbol of Paris. Today, it's hard to imagine the city without it, but that early hatred is a reminder that sometimes the world's most beloved icons start out as the most controversial. This story resonates even with Americans. Think about the Statue of Liberty, another French gift to the U.S. When it first arrived in New York, not everyone loved it. The pedestal construction was delayed because funding fell short, and newspapers complained about the ugly copper colossus. Yet now, Lady Liberty is one of America's greatest treasures. In the same way, the Eiffel Tower went from hated monster to beloved masterpiece. A lesson for us all. Sometimes visionaries see beauty in things long before the world catches up. Number 9. It was almost demolished. After 20 years, here's another fact that will blow your mind. When the Eiffel Tower was completed in 1889, it wasn't meant to stand forever. In fact, the plan was for it to be a temporary installation, a showpiece for the World's Fair that would last only 20 years. That's right, the most famous landmark in France almost vanished by 1909. Imagine visiting Paris today and seeing nothing but empty space where the tower now stands. The thought feels impossible, but history came dangerously close to making it real. So why did Eiffel agree to such a short lifespan? The city of Paris gave him permission to build the tower, but with strict conditions. After the fair, ownership would pass to the city, and unless it proved useful, it had to be torn down. Eiffel poured his heart and fortune into the project, and for 2 decades the clock was ticking. Many Parisians actually looked forward to its demolition, thinking the metal monster would finally be gone. But Gustave Eiffel wasn't going to let his masterpiece disappear. He worked tirelessly to prove its worth. His genius move? He demonstrated that the tower could serve as a giant radio antenna. Remember, at the dawn of the 20th century, wireless communication was still brand new and incredibly valuable. By attaching telegraph and radio equipment to the top, Eiffel showed that the tower wasn't just beautiful, it was functional. The French military quickly realized this was a game changer. During World War I, for example, the tower's antennas intercepted crucial enemy messages, giving France a massive advantage. That practical use saved the tower from destruction. What started as a temporary exhibition piece became a permanent national treasure. And think about how this mirrors other American landmarks. The Golden Gate Bridge, for instance, was once considered impractical and even dangerous. Critics said it couldn't be built across San Francisco Bay's strong currents, but once completed, its usefulness and beauty silenced the doubters. The Eiffel Tower's survival story is similar. Born as a risky experiment, saved by innovation, and transformed into an eternal symbol. This twist of fate is both ironic and inspiring. The Eiffel Tower was almost erased, yet today it attracts nearly 7 million visitors annually. That like erasing Times Square from New York or the Hollywood sign from Los Angeles. Unimaginable. The lesson? What seems disposable today may become priceless tomorrow. Year 8. The Eiffel Tower was once the tallest building in the world. Today we look at skylines filled with massive skyscrapers. New York's One World Trade Center, Dubai's Burj Khalifa, or Chicago's Willis Tower. But rewind to the late 19th century, and the Eiffel Tower stood head and shoulders above everything else on Earth. At 1,083 feet, 330 meters tall, it was the tallest man-made structure in the world when completed in 1889, towering over the Washington Monument in the United States, which previously held the title at just 555 feet. To put it in perspective, the Eiffel Tower was almost twice as tall as the tallest building in America at the time. For ordinary people in 1889, this was mind-blowing. Airplanes hadn't been invented yet. The very idea of climbing higher than church spires and royal palaces was surreal. Visitors to the World's Fair described the experience of going up the tower as otherworldly. Imagine stepping into a rattling elevator, slowly rising into the sky as the city shrank beneath you. For many, it was the first time they had ever seen their world from above. That sense of wonder, the thrill of seeing Paris from the clouds, made the tower legendary from the start. Of course, being the tallest didn't come without challenges. Engineers had to test new construction methods, especially since iron expands and contracts with temperature. Gustave Eiffel himself was obsessed with the math. He designed the tower with a curved profile that could withstand high winds. Some people predicted the structure would topple in a storm, but time has proven otherwise. Even today, when Paris faces extreme weather, the tower sways slightly, up to 3 inches, but remains perfectly safe. That balance of elegance and strength is exactly what makes it a masterpiece of engineering. And here's the American connection. When New York City began its skyscraper race in the early 20th century, the Eiffel Tower was the standard everyone wanted to beat. Buildings like the Chrysler Building and the Empire State Building eventually overtook it, but they were inspired by Eiffel's boldness. In fact, when the Empire State Building was completed in 1931, many newspapers declared that the spirit of Paris now lives in New York. It's fascinating to realize that without the Eiffel Tower blazing the trail, the skyscraper skylines of America might never have existed. The tower held its record as the tallest structure for an impressive 41 years, until New York's Chrysler Building finally surpassed it. Yet even after losing the crown, the Eiffel Tower never lost its magic. People still flocked to see it because it wasn't just about height, it was about daring imagination. Think about it. Buildings can be taller, flashier, or more modern, but the Eiffel Tower remains timeless. That's why more than a century later, it's still one of the most photographed structures in the world. Number 7. The tower changes size with the seasons. This fact sounds almost like science fiction, but it's true. The Eiffel Tower is not the same height all year round. Because it's made entirely of iron, the structure expands and contracts with the temperature. On hot summer days, the tower can grow by about 6 inches as the metal expands under the sun. During the winter, when temperatures drop, it shrinks back down. It's like the tower is alive, breathing with the rhythm of the seasons. Visitors rarely notice this, of course, but engineers keep careful track of it. When you're building something over 1,000 feet tall, even tiny changes in size matter. Gustave Eiffel actually predicted this phenomenon and designed the tower with expansion joints that allow it to move safely. Without that foresight, the iron might crack or warp over time. Instead, the tower remains perfectly stable despite its seasonal growth spurts. This natural expansion creates fascinating little quirks. For example, on extremely hot days, the top of the tower can tilt slightly away from the sun because one side expands more than the other. Imagine climbing up to the observation deck on such a day and realizing you're leaning a tiny bit toward the Seine River. Don't worry, it's completely safe. The movement is so small that visitors don't feel it, but scientifically it's remarkable. This isn't unique to the Eiffel Tower, of course. Bridges in the United States, like the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco, expand and contract dramatically with temperature. Engineers even designed the roadways with small gaps to allow for that shift. But the idea that the Eiffel Tower, one of the most solid, seemingly unchanging monuments in the world, actually changes height makes it feel almost human. It grows in summer, shrinks in winter, just like a living creature adjusting to the seasons. And this detail has become a favorite among tour guides in Paris. They love to ask visitors, "Do you know how tall the Eiffel Tower is today?" The answer depends on the weather. That little scientific quirk adds to the tower's mystique. It's not just a frozen monument of the past, it's dynamic, responsive, and very much alive. For scientists and engineers, it's a perfect classroom example of thermal expansion. For dreamers and romantics, it's another reason to marvel at how even cold iron can seem to have a beating heart. Number 6. The Eiffel Tower played a secret role in war and espionage. Most tourists see the Eiffel Tower as a romantic backdrop, but during both World Wars it was far from just a pretty landmark. It was a powerful weapon of communication and even espionage. As mentioned earlier, Gustave Eiffel saved his tower from demolition by proving it could be used as a giant radio antenna. But what many don't realize is how crucial this role became when Europe was at war. During World War I, French forces equipped the tower with radio transmitters that intercepted German messages. In 1914, these intercepts helped stop the German advance on Paris during the Battle of the Marne, literally saving the city from capture. Without the tower's antennas, communication would have been much slower, and history might have turned out very differently. Imagine Paris falling to Germany in the first months of the war. The Eiffel Tower could have ended up with a swastika flag flying from its top decades earlier than it eventually did. In World War II, the tower again became a player in the game of power. When Nazi Germany occupied France, Hitler ordered that his soldiers hang a huge flag from the tower, but the first one they brought was so massive it blew away in the wind. Parisian resistance fighters even took a small victory by sabotaging the tower QS elevators, so German troops had to climb the stairs if they wanted to reach the top. It's said that when Hitler visited Paris, he never bothered climbing because of this. A subtle but clever act of defiance by the French. And when the Allies finally liberated Paris in 1944, the Eiffel Tower stood tall, undamaged, and still proudly French. Soldiers raised the tricolor flag once more, turning it into a symbol not just of engineering, but of freedom and resilience. Americans visiting France today often find this story resonates deeply, since the tower reminds them of how communication and intelligence often decide wars just as much as weapons on the battlefield. Think of America's use of codebreakers at Bletchley Park or the Navajo code talkers in the Pacific. Both were invisible weapons, just like the tower's radio waves. The Eiffel Tower's wartime role proves that monuments are not just silent witnesses of history. Sometimes they are active participants. It is extraordinary to realize that what looks like a tourist photo spot was once a decisive military tool. And that makes climbing its stairs feel like stepping into a secret chapter of world history. Number 5. The Eiffel Tower has been copied all over the world. If imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, then the Eiffel Tower might be the most flattered building in history. From Las Vegas to Tokyo to small towns in Texas, replicas of the tower pop up everywhere. Some are massive and impressive, others quirky and charming, but all of them prove just how universal the tower's design has become. Take Las Vegas, for example. Right on the Strip, the Paris-Las Vegas Hotel boasts a half-scale replica of the tower, complete with observation decks and twinkling lights. Tourists snap selfies beneath it, thinking, "Close enough," even though the real Paris is thousands of miles away. In Tokyo, there's Tokyo Tower, a bright orange and white cousin inspired by the Eiffel Tower but taller than the original. Built in 1958, it serves as a television broadcasting antenna and a beloved city landmark in its own right. Even in the U.S., smaller versions dot the landscape. In Paris, Texas, a town named after the French capital, locals built their own Eiffel Tower, only 65 feet tall, topped with a giant red cowboy hat. It's funny, it's proud, and it's uniquely American. It shows how a European monument became part of American humor and local identity. There are also replicas in Tennessee, Ohio, and even in Kings Island Amusement Park. Each one might be smaller or less detailed, but all of them carry a spark of the original's magic. Why does the tower inspire so many copies? Because it's instantly recognizable. Its silhouette is unlike any other building in the world. People don't have to be told what it is. One glance and they know. And that universal recognition makes it a powerful symbol for cities trying to draw attention or celebrate a connection to France. But here's something fascinating. No matter how many replicas exist, none ever truly compete with the original. The Eiffel Tower in Paris isn't just about the iron and the design. It's about the atmosphere, the history, the River Seine flowing nearby, the Parisian streets, and the cultural aura of the City of Light. That's something no replica can duplicate. Standing under the real tower, you feel its weight, its presence, its story, something no copy, however creative, can ever replace. In a way, Americans know this feeling too. Think of the Statue of Liberty. There are replicas around the world, but the one standing in New York Harbor has a soul the others don't. The Eiffel Tower is the same. You can build one anywhere, but the original in Paris will always be the one that stirs the heart. 4. The Eiffel Tower has been the stage for daring stunts and strange experiments. The Eiffel Tower isn't just a monument to look at. Throughout its history, it has been a magnet for daredevils, scientists, and thrill-seekers. From bizarre experiments to breathtaking stunts, this iron giant has seen it all. One of the most infamous incidents happened in 1912, when a tailor named Franz Reichelt leapt from the first platform wearing his homemade parachute suit. He was convinced his invention would let him float gracefully to the ground. Hundreds gathered below to watch. Sadly, his parachute failed, and the flying tailor plunged to his death, a tragedy that cemented the Tower Enies' reputation as a place where bold dreams met harsh reality. But Reichelt wasn't the only one. Over the years, the tower has attracted everyone from bungee jumpers to extreme climbers. In 1984, 2 men parachuted off the tower illegally, stunning crowds. More recently, stuntmen have climbed it freehand, and even skaters have zoomed down its stairs. French authorities usually don't approve of such antics, but the fact that the Eiffel Tower inspires people to push limits says something about its allure. It's not just a monument, it's a stage. Scientists, too, have used the tower for wild experiments. In the early 20th century, Gustave Eiffel himself turned the structure into a laboratory. He tested aerodynamics by dropping objects from its platforms, measuring how they fell through the air. Later, physicists used it to study radio waves, wind resistance, and even cosmic rays. The Eiffel Tower became, in effect, an open-air science lab towering above the city. Americans can relate to this fascination. Think of the Empire State Building. It, too, has been a magnet for stunts, from King Kong's fictional climb to real-life tightrope walkers and base jumpers. Both towers are more than steel and stone. They're symbols that make people dream, dare, and sometimes risk everything. And here's a quirk. In 2008, a woman named Erica Labrie from the U.S. famously married the Eiffel Tower in a symbolic ceremony, declaring herself Erica Eiffel. Strange as it sounds, it shows how emotionally powerful the tower can be. People don't just visit it. They form connections, sometimes bordering on obsession. It is a reminder that monuments aren't just objects. They were canvases for human imagination. 3. The tower's color has changed many times. When you picture the Eiffel Tower, chances are you imagine its current bronze-brown shade, often called Eiffel Tower Brown. But here's the surprise. That color hasn't always been the same. In fact, the tower has gone through multiple makeovers in its lifetime, wearing different coats as Paris updated its style. When it was first built, the tower was coated in a reddish-brown color, which gave it a warmer tone. A few years later, it was repainted yellow ochre, making it stand out against the Parisian skyline like a giant golden spike. In the early 20th century, it was covered in a darker bronze, then in a shade of yellow-brown. Over the years, Parisians debated what color suited it best, until finally, in 1968, they settled on the three-tone gradient you see today. Yes, 3 tones, not 1. The tower is painted lighter at the top and darker at the bottom to create the illusion of evenness against the sky. Painting the Eiffel Tower isn't a small job. Every 7 years it gets a full repaint to protect the iron from rust. That means stripping off old paint, applying new coats, and covering 18,000 iron pieces and 2.5 million rivets. The process takes about 60 tons of paint and costs millions of euros. It's like giving a facelift to a 1,000-foot giant. Americans have similar stories with their landmarks. Think of the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco. Its famous international orange color was the key, even the original plan. Engineers wanted gray or even black. But once people saw the orange primer, they loved how it stood out against the bay and the fog. Now, just like the Eiffel Tower, it gets constant repainting to keep its iconic color alive. Color, it turns out, is part of identity. If tomorrow the Eiffel Tower were painted neon green, people would riot. Its brownish bronze tone feels natural, elegant, timeless, part of the Paris brand. But it's worth remembering that this color is not eternal. Who knows? In another century, Parisians may decide to reinvent it again. After all, the tower itself was once seen as temporary. Its color, like its reputation, has always evolved. 2. The Eiffel Tower was once used for secret apartments. Hidden inside this massive iron monument is a little-known treasure, Gustave Eiffel's private apartment. Yes, the man who built the tower kept a secret space for himself near the very top. Unlike the grand salons of Paris, this wasn't a luxurious palace. Instead, it was cozy, simple, and functional, furnished with wooden cabinets, a piano, and scientific instruments. Eiffel used it as both a retreat and a laboratory, a place where he could escape from the chaos below and entertain important guests. And what guests they were! Famous figures like Thomas Edison, the American inventor, visited Eiffel in this private hideout. Edison even brought along one of his latest phonographs, a cutting-edge invention at the time, and presented it to Eiffel. Imagine the scene. 2 of the world's greatest minds, high above Paris, discussing technology while the city lights twinkled beneath them. It's almost cinematic, like a scene from a historical drama. Today, that apartment still exists, preserved as a museum exhibit. Visitors who climb to the top can peek through glass windows and see wax figures of Eiffel and Edison chatting. It's one of the most surprising things about the tower, that amid all the rivets and iron beams, there's a little slice of humanity, a reminder that great monuments are built not just from steel, but from visionaries who dared to dream. For Americans, this fact feels relatable because it mirrors places like the Statue of Liberty, Keuchi's crown, or the hidden rooms inside Mount Rushmore. These secret, tucked-away spaces remind us that history often has a private side, little corners where big ideas quietly took shape. The Eiffel Tower's apartment is proof that even an iron giant has its secrets. Number 1. The Eiffel Tower is still the world's most visited paid monument. Finally, the number 1 fact: the Eiffel Tower is still the most visited paid monument on Earth. Each year, nearly 7 million people travel to Paris just to see it, and over 300 million have visited since it first opened. That's an astonishing number. Think about it. Entire cities in America don't have populations that large, yet year after year, crowds equal to the size of New York City or Los Angeles pour through the tower's gates. What makes it so magnetic? Part of it is the romance. Paris has branded itself as the City of Love, and the Eiffel Tower is its shining heart. Couples from around the world propose beneath it, honeymoon near it, and kiss under its nightly sparkle show. Another part is the history. Standing on its platforms feels like standing on the shoulders of 19th-century visionaries. And then there's the view. On a clear day, you can see for 40 miles, spotting everything from Notre Dame to Sacré-Cœur. It's also one of the best marketed landmarks in the world. The tower has been featured in countless films, TV shows, advertisements, and even video games. From Midnight in Paris to Call of Duty, its silhouette is instantly recognizable. For many people, visiting Paris without seeing the tower is like visiting New York without seeing Times Square. It's simply unthinkable. And here's what's most fascinating. Despite being more than 130 years old, the tower hasn't lost an ounce of its appeal. In fact, it's only grown more popular. In an age when people crave Instagram-worthy locations, the Eiffel Tower remains the ultimate backdrop. No filter required. For Americans, it's comparable to landmarks like the Grand Canyon or Disney World, places where people feel they've missed out if they don't go at least once in their lives. The Eiffel Tower isn't just a building. It's a bucket list experience, a rite of passage, and a memory that millions carry home each year. So there you have it. 10 incredible facts about the Eiffel Tower, the iron giant that was once hated, nearly torn down, used as a weapon of war, painted in different colors, copied across the globe, climbed by daredevils, expanded by the summer sun, and secretly housed one of the greatest engineers of his time. From its controversial birth to its global stardom, the Eiffel Tower is more than just Paris' pride. It's a living symbol of human ambition, resilience, and imagination. If you like this video, don't forget to hit that like button and share it with your friends who love history and travel. Subscribe to our channel so you never miss more amazing stories from around the world. And tell us in the comments, if you had one chance to visit Paris, would the Eiffel Tower be your first stop? We'll see you in the next countdown.